Good morning and welcome to Saturday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We are aware that there is innate antipathy between acolytes of different religions. It's well known. The Jews hate the Muslims and the Muslims hate the Jews. And both of them hate Christians, and the Christians may not be that much, but they do like them. Hindus and Sikhs hate Muslims, and the Muslims hate them. So there is a hidden and many times open antipathy, almost enmity between the different religions. And when you see a shining example of synthesis, where one shrine becomes holy to all the three religions, and it can be more, that is something which is worth talking about. There is a Christian shrine in Pakistan, and Christians flock to this shrine. And they are not real Christians, they are converted Christians, I'll call them. They are descendants of the Sikhs who stayed behind in Pakistan after partition. And their purpose was to look after the property of their masters. They were in the Indian caste system, belonging to the lower classes. And when the masters left Pakistan to look after the property, they stayed in Pakistan. And that shrine is now looked after those people. But then it's not only that. If we look at the history of the shrine, you'll be amazed. I remember meeting one of the caretakers who is a Muslim, and his name was Bashir. When I met him, I was amazed. I mean to say, the guy absolutely dressed in flowing robes, but intoxicated with hashish, thick, long white beard, and the hair were nicely trimmed. I could see what we in Indian language call taweez, a sort of a locket hanging by a black thread. And normally in the Islam, these amulets, taweez is an amulet, is usually a verse from a holy book, the Quran, written on a piece of paper. And I wondered what holy book Bashir had in that locket. Was it Quran? Was it Bible? Was it Guru Granth? Sitting with his back on a small shrine in an open field, he was handing over a hashish-filled cigarette to his young companions. Were they here just for a smoke? Or did the shrine represent something to them? Talking of hashish and bhang, cannabis, both are made from cannabis, it plays a central role in the folk shrines all over India and Pakistan. And I call them folk shrines for one simple reason: they represent one religion, but they belong to all religions. Despite their outward religious association, they do not fall within the bracket of the religious traditions. They are indigenous religiosity that connects them through diverse religions. And in this shrine in Lahore, you can see Sufi Malangs. Malangs are ascetics and the poets. And they have written in their poems and literature, they refer to Hashish as Al Lukmaya, little green bite. Musalia Kalab, that is, it binds the heart. and Barke Khyal is a leaf of insight. It gives you an insight. Well, that being a part, this hashish combines the religiosity that connects people. And it's there, the Sati tradition is in Shaivism as well, consumption of hashish. And in Vedic literature, if you see, you will find cannabis as a bestower of joy and liberator. But now, coming to that shrine, when I looked at that shrine, it was a very simple grave covered with green cloth and flowers. This is the shrine of Baba Gurbaksh Masih. Now, Masih is a Christian word. Gurbaksh is a Muslim. And Gur word basically is a Sikh. Guru, Baba Guru Bakht Singh. And he became a Christian. Masih is an Arabic word for Messiah. And that is a title reserved for Christ. Now, this Baba Gurbaksh Masih shrine is a holy to that area and is so much popular with the local people that I was told that the people come there to seek protection, guidance, help, succor from as far as 500 kilometers. And as I say, being a Christian shrine, there is no Christian over there who looks after it. It was Bashir, the Muslim, and then the Sikhs turned Christians and Muslims. The beauty is that despite their reluctance, they were not willing to say that they are the followers. They were saying, well, we only protect it. I talked about that, says this simple structure, short boundary wall, no roof. And I asked Bashir and other people, can you tell me the name of the saint who is buried in this grave? And the grave covered with a green cloth, similar to the cloth which is used in the Muslim shrines. Now, if it's a Muslim shrine, I can understand the green cloth. But a Christian shrine having a green cloth was something amazing. There was a turban over there on the grave. There were garlands decorating the grave. And that symbolized the groom bride relationship between the saint and the divine. Green, the color usually associated with Islam, was used to paint the decorative arcs and false architectural pillars. At the entrance, however, there was a cross showing that it's a Christian shrine. Now look at the synthesis. The grave is absolutely Islamic. All the decorations are Islamic. The keepers are either Muslims or Sikhs, converted Christians. And the entrance, there is a cross. The color of the grave yard cloth is green, as I said earlier. Now, this shrine, you must be thinking, where is it? It's a small village, Marakka, 100 kilometers southwest of Lahore. And it is popularly called Isaiah the Mazar, the shrine of the Christians. This Isaiah the Mazar was a name not given by the people. And then they told me that Baba Gurbaksh Masih was a follower of Guru Nanak. So it was not a Christian shrine to begin with. He was fighting a war, And here, the Sikh tradition comes in. Sikhs have a warrior called Baba Deep Singh. And the story is that when he was fighting a war, his head got cut off. He put the head in the palm of his hand and kept on fighting. Won, then came back to the golden temple, placed his head and bowed to the Guru and died. The same is about Baba Gurbaksh Singh. He lost his life in a battle and during combat. His head was severed, but his body continued to fight until it eventually came and rested at this spot. He died here. And the shrine was constructed to commemorate his life and death. Now, when I talked to the people over there, I understood that the history told by them is different than the history that we study. They had no formal education, but they were very well versed in the local law. For them, the history is not in years, but through events. In this framework, the partition became a pivotal point, the ultimate divider of the eras. They don't know exactly how old the shrine is, but they know that it was there before partition. So, in its original form, it must be fair to suggest that instead of grave, this shrine must have hosted the samadhi, the Hindu aspect of Baba Gurbaksh. Perhaps it did not contain the remains of Baba Gurbaksh, but it was built to commemorate the legend of Bhai Gurbaksh Singh. Now, this guy, Bhai Gurbaksh Singh, sacrificed his life to defend the Harmandir Golden Temple from the onslaught of Ahmad Shah Abdali. And the same person goes and dies there. And the Christians start venerating him, and the Muslims start venerating him. So, Sufi tradition of the Malaks, Sikh tradition of Baba Deep Singh, Islamic concept of the cross being there is a curious synthesis. How it happened is beyond any logic, beyond any reason. But while there are riots in Lahore, there are riots in Chakwal, there are riots in Rawalpindi, there are riots in Topatek Singh, there are no riots in this area. Just 20 kilometers, just 20 kilometers southwest. And it's a heaven, it's a peaceful place. Mr. Singh Jaspal writes, he makes a comment, is it not a shining example of secularism? It is. As a matter of fact, this is real secularism, where enmity towards none and love for all is not only enshrined but is put in practice. This is secularism that overrides all formal aspects. And as a matter of fact, if you go to that place, people always say that we go to Golden Temple, Amritsar, and we have a feeling of peace. Yes, it's there. But here you don't only have peace, you have got a certain satisfaction. Wow, can this happen? And that is important because now this man Gulbakh Singh was fighting the Muslims. And the Muslims are worshipping him. Whatever his past incarnation might be. It's a shrine today serves as a central communal space for the Christians, Sikhs, and the Muslims. And they gather here for the annual festival of the shrine, which is in April. And they gather like the devotees of a Sufi shrine. But they also celebrate Easter and Christmas. This shrine, in fact, if you study the story of the shrine, is a story of partition. Mecca was a predominantly Sikh village, and the occupants fled to the other part, that's India, across the border, to escape bloodshed. However, as I said earlier, it was a very wealthy village. The Sikhs were I think, the richest of the lot over there living, and they had huge lands. So they left behind servants to look after the property and belongings. Like millions of others, they fell to riots or partition. It was a madness, run riot. And they were hoping that they'll return to their ancestral homes as soon as the situation returned to normal. They never could. So the servants were of two types. One were the Muslims. Now, since the Gurbakh Singh was buried there, it was a sort of a shrine based on the Sikh Shahi Samadha. Like you go in Patiala, Princely States, the king when he is buried is called, though the Sikhs are not supposed to be buried, but still they have the Samadha, the graves. So it was a Samadhi. And then, it was because most of those people to escape Islam, their fear for life, they became Muslims and some became Christians. But their loyalty to the shrine continued and they converted into a Muslim look, Sufi look, but with a Christian folklore. And the majority of the Christians who lived in Mecca today are descendants of the servants of these landlords. Now here comes the Indian caste system. They were must-be Sikhs. Now must-be Sikhs is a title itself for the Sikhs belonging to the lower class. Sikhism and Islam do not accept caste system. But when the people converted to Sikhism and to Islam, they retained their caste. They retained their caste hierarchy even. So lower class Hindus, when they became Muslim, were known as Deendar, Musalli. And in Sikhism, they were called must-be Sikhs. And they still continue to be at the lowest level. So far, as long as they could, these must-be Sikhs retain their religious identity. But as soon as the fires of the riots reached, they cut off their hair, removed their turbans, embraced Christianity, not because they loved Christianity, but because it was a neutral religion. And the Christians from the partition onwards became a part of their life. The shrine of Baba Gurbak's transition from a Sikh Samadhi to a Christian shrine with Sufi overtones. So this is possibly a very rare example where three religions antithetical to each other, the followers being inimical to each other. And believe me, there has been no case of blasphemy in this area. Police, when they cross this shrine, they immediately stop their usual abusive language and they say, no, Babaji would get annoyed. Respect. So the respect is there, the regard is there, the reverence is there. Really, if this sort of thing could extend to other parts, life might be better. And the communal divide that we see and the terror that we see might not be there any longer. Thank you.